أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the Master of the Day of Judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the creator and sustainer of all things, the giver of life, the guider of hearts, the master of the Day of Judgment. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and final messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and upon all those who choose to tread in his path until the last day. Our time in this world is identified repetitively within both the Quran and the prophetic tradition as something that is temporary. May Allah make us people of Jannah. In so many narrations in the Hadith and so many ayat of the Quran, the emphasis that there is definitively a here, but we are meant to be people who recognize the existence of a hereafter. And where and how that belief is not something that we just rotely memorize, but it then informs our practice, our choices, our decisions. Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib aw abra sabil, that be in this world as if you are a stranger or a traveler. The journey in and of itself is not something that also identifies this worldly existence as a starting point. If anything, it actually becomes that much more of a place of transience, because the point of origin for each one of us takes place well before our time in this world. The bodies that we have that are merely vesicles on a physical level of a spirit, a soul that Allah has instilled within each of these physical vessels, that soul predates this body's existence in this world. And this body will return back to the earth from which it was formed, just like yours. But the abode of the arwah, a place where the souls are gathered all together, a place to reflect on in relation especially to these Mubarak days of Dhul Hijjah that are just days away from us. May Allah enable us to reach them and take benefit from them. Embedded within that narrative of our placement in that abode of souls, from which we then enter into the wombs of the mothers that bore us into this world, that first space that our Creator puts us into after we move from that existence is the Rahim, a place of mercy. Then you have an entrance into this worldly existence, this materialistic existence, the dunya. Thereafter, there's the barzakh, the intermediary realm, the place where the grave is a place of our inhabitants. May Allah make it a place of light for all of us and show us from within it our place in Jannah. You got to want it for yourself. Then thereafter, there is a day of standing, a day of accountability, a Yawm al-Qiyamah, a Yawm al-Hisab. May Allah grant us ease on that day, an entrance into His Jannah without any judgment. And then there is a hereafter. We have everybody move up. If you can fill in any of the gaps that's in front of you, would appreciate it. There's a lot of room. We can see empty carpet. We want to just get into the habit of it too, so it doesn't become a disruption to the prayer on its own. So people can be mindful as they come in and get seated, as well as make space for those who are new that might not know how kind of our setup works here. The Prophet ﷺ tells us of a day that is arguably the most auspicious day in our religion's calendar, Yawm al-Arafah, the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafah, that he says, Al-Hajju Arafah, that Hajj is Arafah. When people speak about the significance of this day, the making of dua, the Prophet says, this is the day you want to make dua on. This day is a day that if you don't stand on that day, there's no Hajj. But in relation to the journey of our soul, one of the things that our teachers tell us is the significance of Yawm al-Arafah is that it gives us an indication of a day we all experienced that predates any one of our existences in this world, Yawm al-Alast, a day that Allah alludes to and speaks of definitively rather in the Quran, where all of the souls that are ever in existence come in front of our Creator, and He takes a covenant, Alastu bi Rabbikum, am I not your Lord? And what the Quran says following these timeless words, that each one of us says yes, qalu bala shahidna, that we all bear witness to this. When the Quran speaks about that moment and that covenant that's taken, it's so that there's an understanding that within each one of us is the recognition that we bear witness that Allah is our Lord. And it tells us then that that is something that gets coupled in a bookend with Yawm al-Qiyamah. So that when you stand on the Day of Judgment, it's not that you go in blind, you were part of the covenant that was taken. And what this worldly existence is a drop in the bucket between those 2 days. Yawm al-Alast or Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of the covenant and the day of standing. This is seen as an existence that becomes devoid of wakefulness. And steps you can take can be steps of remembrance or steps of forgetfulness. It is not by chance that the pilgrimage that the Hujjaj take is made up primarily of ritual that has you taking many physical steps. But the whole idea embedded within it is to get to a place on Yawm al-Arafah, when you are standing at the plain of Arafah, 1,000 times greater than the capacity of this room, filled at every place possible of individuals donning the same garb, strips of titles, stripped of credentials, stripped of net worth, stripped of anything that creates stratification and hierarchy. You just come as yourself with your heart, standing with everybody. If you have ever gone for Hajj, you know what it's like. It's crazy that you are surrounded by millions of people, but you still feel that you are there by yourself. When you're in that moment, turning to Allah, making dua, the idea is that Yawm al-Arafah is supposed to help awaken in not just a physical, but an inward that is in a state of slumber. Hey, there was a covenant that I took. Doesn't make sense that I've made my Rabb actually the dunya. It doesn't make sense that I stand in front of a mirror for hours and hours and spend dollars I don't have on trying to perfect in the pursuit of validation of systems of whiteness that were built to make me hate my brown and black skin, a physical beauty, but I don't take a minute to spend on the refinement of the beauty of my inward state. It doesn't make sense that I've become a worshiper of wealth and I've made money my Rabb. It doesn't make sense that I'm in a place where my own base desires is what it is that I prostrate to again and again and again. That the direction that I have is without any real compass because I just move and sway in the direction of wherever the winds of those who have power and privilege push me in, telling me this is what it means to be a good Muslim today. say, by our bigoted standards, do that and leave your Islam at the door. Yawm al-Arafah, the entire imagery of it is to help the inner awaken and say, hold on, we were part of that moment. Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord? Qalu bala shahidna, that yes, we bear witness to this. When you think about the nature of Hajj and what it's supposed to do for the person, may Allah grant all those who have ever gone and accepted Hajj, and make us from amongst those who our actions are accepted also. What is the reward of an accepted Hajj? It's as if you turn into a state anew in this world again. The same way as if you were entered into this world. Wipes clean an entire slate. And if you make a connection point between these two things, how could you not have a fresh start when the soul that is you is actually awakened once more? And removes now the shackles of this dunya that tell you to just be in pursuit of it as an ends, not a means to anything else. You got to understand who benefits from you and I not knowing our religion. Break away from a Sunday school understanding of your deen. Stop thinking about it as an inherited practice that somebody from a generation above told you, you do this and that, and then it created a limit and a ceiling after you got past a certain point in time. The journey in and of itself is something that many of us put off till a time that we don't even know is going to come later. But recognize, if you were to have somebody who came and sat to you and said, what is this Dhul Hijjah month about? Why are all these people going for this Hajj? What is this Yawm al-Arafah about? People do not want you to know what this religion has to say, because it is one of the few things, if not the only thing, that still exists in this world that challenges so much of the inequity and oppression that we see. If you actually were able to say that I understand and live by the principles of Yawm al-Arafah, I believe in what it is that it teaches me and calls me to, only in a way that I embrace it in its totality, so my observance of it awakens a soul that is waiting to be what it is that is traversing this world in the way that a soul is meant to experience the world, not a body that just holds the soul. Who benefits from you being scared of being Muslim? It's not you. Who benefits from you saying that I'm just not going to ask for what it is that is my right, and that I should show gratitude when I'm given what it was that was mine to begin with? Why do you need a day that is so immense in its blessing that it can help just remove any of the veils that have created us to live in a state of slumber and ignite into a state of wakefulness? Well, look at the world around you, and it's not a critique, it's just objective fact. There are people who benefit from us not knowing our deen. And if you don't know it, how can you act upon it? And then the second step after what it is that I know, they benefit from us trivializing it, saying that it's not really something that I have to do. The 9th of Dhul Hijjah is going to take place potentially either 2 weeks from this day or 13 days from this day. May Allah bless us to reach it and take benefit from it. Visualize what success looks for you on that day, and what the purpose of it is, and how it is that you will take hold of that purpose. The underlying premise of Hajj is not that it's meant to be an easy gathering. And if anything, what the Hujjaj yield to is a principle that our tradition is built upon if you actually want to be somebody who has ethic and character and value that is qualified as being beautiful. You are voluntarily engaging in a pilgrimage that is built on the idea of inconvenience, not convenience. You are in a place where the baraka that is attached to people, time, and place, all of those things are present in this journey. And in our tradition, as the saying goes, abundance is not what we seek, right? But the saying says that baraka is not because of abundance is because of baraka. The metaphysical blessing and capacity to do more with less is not something that is yielded from having more, but abundance comes from it. It does not come from abundance. Understanding this within this prism of inconvenience, this is what the Hujjaj experience. If you've ever gone for a Hajj, it's not an easy experience. Getting to a place where you tame your ego and going through a reality where you are literally wearing the same two-stitched garments and the same clothes that you would normally wear as a woman, but still the same without the frills and everything else you experience in this world. No scented fragrances, no scented deodorants, no scented sanitizers, no scented moisturizers. Keep your ego in check. It's not a place where you yell and scream and gossip and backbite. The doing of good is rewarded in the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. Can you imagine what the ajr is if you are doing good while you're on Hajj? But there's an inherent inconvenience that you are voluntarily putting yourself in the performance of the act. And it is a part of pretty much everything that goes in. It's not always the most convenient thing to make wudu and walk to the masjid 5 times a day. It's not. It's not always the most convenient thing that the most auspicious day in our week, the day of Jummah, is not part of a weekend the way it is for other religious communities. It's not convenient that we don't always know what day our Eid is going to be on. Is it on this day or that day? It's not convenient. Just like it's not convenient always to go home and make food for your neighbor that you know has no food to eat. It takes time, it takes resources, it takes effort. It takes time to be in a place where you engage in a process that has a self-care strategy that says, I still have responsibility beyond my work-life balance to come home and laugh with my kids. To be ensuring that I'm spending quality time with my spouse. The tradition that we have that tells us of a prophet who mended his own clothes and his shoes and did household chores. How did he fundamentally do these things? The capacity to be positive in a world that is overtly negative, to be a source of joy, to greet people that you know and did not know, to smile at those that he greeted, to be honest and be known as being someone who is honest. That's not an easy thing to do. It has embedded within it this capacity of inconvenience. And that's the whole idea with this tradition. You have to want what it is that you can only get by putting yourself through struggle and inconveniencing yourself in the here so that the hereafter is something that is experienced differently. If you ever see people who are going for Hajj from other parts of the world, they're still walking. They're still in places where they're not in the first row of hotels. They're not even in the last row of hotels. They're coming from that much further away. But what is it that's bringing them to these places? The recognition that it plays a central role. The performance in and of itself is not the goal, but recognizing that it is a means to something that is bigger. And I don't know about you, But there's enough people in this world who are walking around in a state of sleep. You want to have rest, you rest in the barzakh. That's what the grave is for. May Allah make it a place of rest for us and make us the strongest of the believers who find rest and not torment in our qabr. Alastu bi rabbikum? Am I not your Lord? Qalu bala shahidna. Baraka is not because of abundance. Abundance is because of baraka. And the inconveniencing of ourselves in this worldly existence cannot be purely in pursuit of things that are worldly. The inconveniencing has to get to a place where you tame the nafs, make the heart sovereign, and allow for yourself to understand that the most crucial element to this is that you will either have to decide that you cultivate a relationship with your soul or you don't. What part of you is the place where kindness exists? Have you ever thought about it? Where does integrity lie within me? Honesty, truthfulness, compassion, mercy, love, unconditional or otherwise. And if you could outline where these virtues and values and other virtues and values that we have not mentioned, ihsan, sabr, tawbah, all of these things, justice, and a desire for justice for all peoples. What part of your body holds those things? And how are you nurturing and developing those parts of yourself? The baraka that is rooted in this recognizes these three variables. A baraka of people. You are situating yourself today on the Jummah prayer, and you are going to perform postures within this prayer, may Allah accept it from us, that are not about anything that was obtained contemporarily, but they're rooted in practices from 14 centuries ago. The Hajj journey is rooted in a tradition of the Prophet Abraham and his family from 4,000 years ago. The way modernity tells you that the advancement that we have today enables us to say that everything we have is the best way to do the way that we are gaining and developing it today. Our tradition is telling us, look back to those who came before you. You want to do it the way they did it. And why is it telling us to do it the way that they did it? Because they were better at this thing of ibadah than anybody today. They embraced the role of being not just an abd, but consciously being an abd of Allah. The inconvenience variable that factors into this is also something coupled with this idea in modernity that we have gotten to a place that everything we do is so much better than what came before. That efficiency and the streamlining of something and allowing for it to happen as quickly as possible, all it's doing is giving immediate gratification to the nafs and feeding it and fueling it more. The idea that it goes faster and quicker doesn't mean that it's better. You can get somebody to drive food to your home and groceries to your home, and you can get everything right to your home. It's convenient, but it's also making us forget when there's torrential rain falling, there's somebody who's going to get a $3 tip for flying through the rain as fast as possible. Otherwise, when it's not exactly when I wanted it, I'm going to leave them a bad rating and review that could potentially get them fired. But did I ever sit and think that subhanAllah, Allah enabled the creation of this thing that would allow for that person to take that role and bring this product to me where I didn't even have to get up and do anything. I just lifted a finger and pushed a button. How can you tell me that there's not room in there to build an unhealthy sense of entitlement? To get to a place where I dilute God-centric understandings and I live in a prism of egocentricity. And when we connect back to the baraka of people, we are connecting back to people from centuries, millennia ago, because there's not any new way to do it better. You are going through time-tested practice that enables you to be in a place where, yes, order the thing to your house, but still express a sense of gratitude to its utmost for the one who allowed for all of those things to be put in motion, for you to have it with such ease. A baraka of place. And the place of the Kaaba, the place of the Haram, the cities of Mecca and Medina, unbounded in their blessing, that if you've ever been there, you know your own capacity to do is so different than any other place. You don't sleep as much. You don't eat as much. You're able to engage in things in ways that you couldn't imagine because the abundance comes from the baraka. The baraka does not come from the abundance. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he says that the most beloved of places to Allah are the masajid. And the most hated of places to Allah are the markets. What modernity offers to us is the opposite of this statement. I spend more time in the market, virtually, physically, and otherwise. I literally could sit on my couch and order with such ease. I'm just doing it again and again and again. I don't even have to go to the market to be in the market. But you got to determine the gatherings that I frequent. Why am I spending and placing my heart in those gatherings as much as I do? Why am I allowing for the things that my inner self tastes and consumes to be what it is? Do I position it within the prism of what this thing offers to me? This world is just a day in its reality, in the middle of the day of Alast and the day of Qiyamah. And then a baraka of time. It's not me who is telling you that the days of Dhul Hijjah that will be upon us soon are filled with blessing and unique opportunity. It's not me who's going to tell you that the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Eid, is a day of blessing and opportunity, or the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafah, is a day of barakah and a day of opportunity. This is Allah and Allah's Messenger who are telling us these things. On his farewell khutbah on that 9th day of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafah, you should go and read that farewell khutbah. Really read it. Not just hear somebody stand on a mimbar and tell you about it, because then you're not experiencing it in the way that you fully could. You should carve it out and engage it and read it and ponder it. Over 100,000 companions stood at that farewell khutbah. Our Prophet told them when they stood on the plain of Arafah that all of this is Arafah. Not just where they were standing, but everything in that plain was Arafah. Knowing that one day it would be filled at every nook and cranny with a believer hoping to connect to the divine. May Allah accept from all of us. There were people who came from all over the Hijaz who had never met the Prophet of God on that day. It was the first time. The Fath al-Makkah, you don't want to think in the prism of a conquest. A Fath is an opening. And that opening that is in the literal sense, but also the metaphysical sense, gives now an influx of individuals from all over that Arabian Peninsula who embrace this thing. And when the call goes out that the Prophet is making Hajj this year, everybody wants to be a part of that. There are people who gained the title of Sahaba on that day. It was the first and for some, the only time they saw and interacted with the Messenger of God. And he tells them to listen with an attentive ear to what it is that he will say, and to take what he says to those who did not hear it. That is what you and I have to do. You all have computers in your pocket. Go and look it up, read it, ponder it, and then share it with people. But the baraka of the time is what we want to focus on today. Allah could have picked any day to be as auspicious. He chose the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. Don't treat it in a way where you think you know better than him, that something else you're going to do that shouldn't be done in place of what it is that needs to be done on that day and can only be done on that day is not done because you think you know it better than the one who knows everything. Allah could have told us any stories in the Quran of every part of His creation that He knows better than any of us know ourselves. He chose to tell us about the Prophet Ibrahim. He chose to tell us about Hajar, peace be upon her. He chose to tell us about Ismail, peace be upon him. Not just stories that you read as children, but you ponder and reflect in the prism of why we engage it again and again and again in the course of our existence. And then the gain comes back to us more than anybody, because the abundance is from the baraka. The baraka is not from the abundance. And if you want it to be something that you taste the sweetness of, then you got to understand a big part of this religion is getting to a place where you voluntarily inconvenience yourself. It's easier to feed your stomach. It takes effort to make sure someone who's hungry has food in theirs too. It's easier to let somebody else be the one who greets people. It takes a lot of effort to go and talk to someone who is sitting by themselves and everybody is seeing them in only a cloak of invisibility. It's a lot easier to engage in relationships that are rooted purely in shared externals, race, class, ethnicity. It takes a lot more effort to be able to say, I'm going to actually connect to someone at the level of what is inward. 1 million plus people are going to go for Hajj this year. May Allah accept it from them. In a world that is still filled with atrocity, oppression, difficulties of all different kinds. And you still think it's okay that your kids can only marry someone who comes from your culture. You still validate that it's okay that only people who share language with you can eat in your homes. Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord? All of us stood as souls on that day. Qalu bala shahidna. We all said, we bear witness. What is the color of your soul? What language was it speaking at that time? The jahili tendencies of those who have control of the world, if you make them your Lord, you will then try to be like them in every which way. But if you remember who your teacher is, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and even where it's difficult, you still know that it's the best course of action. Share light on this day of Jummah, even if it's with one person, man. Don't go out and be another source of selfishness in the world. The people who are going to be in your life that are waiting for you to actually express gratitude and validate what it is that they bring. You have a holiday that is coming in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, you can either be giving gifts to people that you love, or you can be giving them nothing. But an understanding that we can only yield from it what it is that we are putting into it in the first place. Inshallah ta'ala, our Creator will make us from amongst those who experience the sweet barakah of these days of Dhul Hijjah. He will enable those of us who have the means to fast on the day of Arafah, to fast on that day and turn to Him in dua. He will grant us the tawfiq and the openings to fill those first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, the best 10 days in the calendar year, with actions that are pleasing only to Him. And then allow for it to be something that helps us remember we're just travelers in this world, man. A bunch of people might be going for Hajj, but each one of us was always pilgrims to begin with. And your journey is not done until you reach your place of ultimate destination. May Allah make us people of His Jannah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. These last few days, the headlines we get exposed to, they just seem that much more disgusting. There's no other way to say it. These guys are putting into practice policies that are now preventing universities from letting students from other countries come into their colleges. The subsequent headlines that I read thereafter were stories not of everyday people who were impacted by this, but the very next one I read said the future queen of Belgium will now be prevented from going to Harvard. She's a queen. What about the kid who you're praying Jummah with, who's worried that their entire educational career is going to get disrupted because a bunch of people in positions of power and privilege could care less about what it is that happens to minorities? I say it because I love each of you. Every single time somebody says to me, I can't believe that they did this. Can you imagine that they did this? How is it possible that they did this? When are you going to stop being shocked and wake up to what realities are? This is why people, not just centuries ago, but just days, weeks, months, recent years ago, flooded these streets, telling people to pay attention that every system in this country does not honor black life. And if too many of you have been in a place where your subservience to whiteness has made you agitated now that the system that was built to push people out like us is going to, even in the aftermath of what is atrocious, highlight the difficulty that's going to happen to a princess that will eventually become the queen of a country, rather than being able to say what is going to happen to the kids who are coming from these places that literally their entire clans and families were reliant upon the degrees they were going to harness. I was asked in the last couple of days to go and fill relief trucks because borders were going to be open to deliver aid to our sisters and brothers in Gaza. I was about to get on a plane, and then I was told, we're not actually going anymore. And I said, why? And they said, because they've decided to put facial recognition on the distribution lines in Gaza. And we can't, in our good hearts, commit to being a part of a process like that, where they will say it's to ensure that so-and-so and such is not in a line, but it puts now in danger the aid workers and the residents and any claim that you can just attach a label to someone and then they will drop a bomb on these people and kill them. And you're not going to fast on the day of Arafah? You're going to think about your stomach as being the thing that makes decisions first? You're going to believe that you made it because you got some piece of this world in your hand? Their darkness is darkness. It doesn't still mean that we somehow don't have a responsibility to live our light. If you are hurting people in your life, stop. If you are living with selfishness, stop. If you are not doing right by yourself, stop. What more do you need to see of examples of people who are entrenched in the world? Let them have this dunya. You live for something bigger than it. And don't wait until a week, a year, a month from now. But you do it different because you embrace the fact that Allah gave you the gift of Islam for a reason. And even if nobody else is living, if there's a next world, we know that there is. And we, inshallah ta'ala, will start living in that way. Let these 10 days of Dhul Hijjah be something that's bigger than the self. And allow for it to be a moment where you actually are willing to meet the person that you both are and who you can eventually become. So we do our best. And we find solace in the fact that our God is seeing all of it. And that He's going to put everything into place. And we just want to stand in front of Him saying that even despite it all, we got done what it was to the best of our ability, what you had intended for when you put us in this world during this time. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad fil awwalina wa fil akhirin. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallama ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma innaka afoon kareemun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. Ya muqallib al-qulub thabbit qulubana ala dinik. Allahumma ja'alna min al-mukhlisin. Allahumma ja'alna min al-mukhlisin. Allahumma ja'alna min al-mukhlisin. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah, and beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present here and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all other hearts that are gathered here only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. Increase us, Ya Allah, in all that is good. Increase us in courage, compassion, and confidence. Protect us from affliction, anxiety, and anguish. Remove from our hearts any feelings of bitterness, jealousy, animosity, or envy towards any of your creation. Grant us hearts that are filled with understanding and hope. Hearts that are drawn towards things of real and actual beauty. Hearts that find themselves deep in your remembrance. For indeed in your remembrance do hearts find rest. Make us, Ya Allah, from amongst those who recognize that we are simply travelers in this world. Allow for us to take steps in this world that are steps of remembrance and not steps of forgetfulness. Steps that remind us that our journey is not complete until we reach our ultimate destination. That we will stand in front of you one day, Ya Allah. Make it a day of ease for us. We will stand in front of you one day, Ya Allah, and we'll be asked about everything that you have given to us in this world. We will stand in front of you one day, Ya Allah, and every single thing that we have done in this world will be shown to us. Ya Rabb, forgive us and help us to live the remainder of our days in this world in the ways that are most pleasing to you. Let no longer the tyranny of our egos be what it is that controls our choices. Let us not be people who our stomachs and sexual organs define and dictate the decisions that we act upon. But make us people who look over our hearts so that our hearts watch over us. who make decisions through our hearts and never at their expense, hearts that are attached to you and nothing that is temporary of this world. For all those, Ya Allah, who find themselves in a state of anxiety or fear, help us to find them and be a source of relief and comfort to them. Let not this day of Jummah end, Ya Rab, without each one of us doing something of goodness and benefit for somebody else, as well as doing something that is purely and truly good for us ourselves, for our souls, for our hearts. And forgive us, Ya Rab, for not doing when we had the ability to do. Give us strength, give us courage, give us good intentions that are noble and elevated. And even when no one else is doing, make us those who continue to strive and move in whatever mode of inconvenience it causes, simply because we know it is the right thing to do and it is pleasing to you. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وأقيم الصلاة